Hi Keith, the team and Network Churches. Great to connect with you in this moment. My name is Pete Anderson, pastor at Destiny Church in Edinburgh, and I am a fan of yours, and I was with you guys a few years ago now, and I love the work you're doing. I love the variety of churches, and I love your leadership team there. So I'm cheering you guys on through these strange times. Keith asked me to share with you something that I've been talking about with a number of leaders recently. You know, in the book of Acts, we see that first beautiful church in Acts chapter 2 birthed from the day of Pentecost. And it says in Acts 2, later on in the verse, it says, every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts. The depth of fellowship, the richness of God's presence among them was so tangible, and we all long to have churches like that. And so what we see is in the early church, they had big gatherings and small gatherings. They had big gatherings, that was in the temple courts area. Solomon's colonnades, right up there in Temple Mount, could accommodate tens of thousands of people. Big gatherings. But they also had the small gatherings, because they met in house to house, they broke bread, they loved praying together, fellowshipping and learning together. But my question is, what happens when the big gatherings have to stop? And pretty much that's what's been happening with us. And in Acts chapter 8, that's exactly what happened in the early church. The persecution was unleashed against the early church. Saul mounted a persecution, and the church in Jerusalem was scattered. They could no longer have their big gatherings. And yet, we don't see the church dying. Quite the opposite. We saw the church in the book of Acts, when they couldn't have the big gatherings anymore, the church didn't just survive, it thrived. It went viral. It grew bigger than ever before and more vibrant. You know, something very similar happens historically when the Russians when the Russian Communist Party took charge and implemented communism in 1917 under Lenin. They clamped down on big meetings of churches, and they took out a number of key leaders, and it had a devastating impact on the church. In contrast, in China in 1949, when Mao with the communist regime was implemented in China, they also tried to take out key leaders and stop churches gathering. But the difference was, in China, it was built around an underground church model, built around small groups, built around strong discipleship rhythms, not just gatherings and leaders, but it was a scattered, viral church. And as a result, we all know of the success of the underground church in China. In contrast, the church in Russia didn't have the same success because it was built around meetings and key leaders, whereas in China, where the model was built around small groups and discipleship, the church thrived, it didn't just survive. So during these times of lockdown, we've got to look not just at the ABC, we've got to look at the D of growth. The ABC is attendance, buildings, and cash. But we've got to look not just at attendance, buildings, and cash, but we've got to look at the D. ABCD, D is discipleship. And Scottish Network Churches, as you guys are looking at implementing stronger discipleship rhythms in your mix, it will make you fit for the next season that we're in. But also, to be honest, a crisis gives us the opportunity to put in place things that we should have in place even when there's no crisis. God bless you, churches. God is with you. Jesus is building his church, cheering you guys on.